Welcome back, everybody. I'm glad you're back. You landed on the right place. Hello, everybody. This is Matt here. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. And I'm tired, so I'm not gonna lie. I just decided to make this video just because like today I was at a family function. Um, this was so my birthday's coming up, and yeah, so we had a little bit of a family barbecue. Got to see everybody. Haven't seen them since Easter. All of our family on my mom's side, and yeah, we do this. We do this every year, and you know, everybody like we have a great family. Like I'm so blessed to have such a big family, and also just people that really care and love me and want the best for me. And I'm super blessed. I've been definitely blessed to have them in my life. And but it's I feel like you know especially the last year, and this is just something personally for me, but it feels like it's getting harder and harder to relate to some of my family members now. Like what I mean by that is, I've been through a lot the past 3 years, mentally, psychologically, emotionally. A lot of stuff that I've kept away from family, just so people wouldn't, you know, because I believe that thoughts create realities. I believe that our thoughts are powerful, and if they don't, or if they're not directed in a positive way, then negative things happen. Now, I've experienced this a lot, and um, the more the more you keep your thoughts positive, and even like, because here's what will happen. When you're at your lows mentally, they're it's up to you to try and fight them off. And what I mean is, like, a lot of people, they'll be like, oh, I gotta, like, talk to somebody about it. And some people will even go to get medication like antidepressants. Now, I've never been on that, and I refuse to. And you know there are many reasons I can't explain on here. I would love to explain them from what I've learned, but I just don't want to risk getting my channel taken down, because it's happened before. I've said some stuff that anyway. So I refuse to take anything for that. And I believe that you have to use your will. You have to use the part of God in you, because we all create a reality, and you have to fight these thoughts. Now, what I've noticed for myself is that, a lot of these thoughts and a lot of the depression that I've fought, where, after, usually around, for me, I've noticed a pattern, after the full moon, like right after the full moon, like tonight, there's a full moon, right after the full moon, that's when it's like I got to get ready to fight some of these depressions. And, I've studied this kind of stuff, you know, just observing how I feel around these times, and it's always the same. Now, I'd love to elaborate on, how I learned some of that and how I observed it, but, I don't want this channel to be affected. So, you know, it's YouTube is a funny place. A lot of people come on here to be entertained. A lot of people come on here to um share their story, vlog, travel vlog. But I don't know how many people come on here to hear truth. I don't know how many people on here come to hear truth that is needed out there. Because, you know, I've had, and this is one of the things with my family members that, that I've been disagreeing with for the past year, I think people like to sugarcoat a lot of stuff that's going on. People don't like to hear the hard reality of things and how it affects people. And, I'm talking about like the economy, I'm talking about, and again, I really do not want to dive into the negative here, but, um, I would say for myself right now, I'm definitely not where I want to be. And that's fine because there's a lot of things that I've had to learn over the past 3 years, and that's totally fine. And, just today when I was with my family, I'm like, there's just so much I want to talk about in regards to all these experiences I went to, but, all these experiences that I went through, but they're so personal. They're so unique, some crazy even, which I'm again not going to mention on here, but there's some things that I just can't relate to, you know, people in my family. It's hard. And, I'm around them and I do a lot of listening. Everybody seems, everybody is, you know, kind of doing the normal, going to work, some of my family has kids already. Um, I'm still single, by choice for now. I don't want this to be, you know, something forever, but right now I'm on the mindset of getting myself on track, and that's my priority now. So, um, yeah, just, I was with family today and I just couldn't, like, I have so much to share with people if they really want to, like, dig deep, but, a lot of people in my family, unfortunately, don't really like to have deep conversations. And what I mean is uncomfortable conversations. And what I mentioned before about truth, like the reality of things out there, nobody really likes to hear that. I feel like every time I try and bring that up, I try and, say it in a way that's, more sensitive to them, but, it always ends up bursting their bubble and they're like, no, no, I don't want to talk about that. Or don't bring that up again. So, in those moments, I'm just like, you know what? You can't really change people. You can't really convince anybody. How people act is how they act. Like, it is what it is, right? And today I was like, it's just like it's kind of sad, man. It's like it's so sad that people in my family here, like I love them so much, but a lot of them can't relate to me of what I've been through. You know, just over the past 3 years. And it's been like, especially the beginning of this year, it's been really rough for me, really rough, emotionally and psychologically. Like a lot has happened that I'm not going to get into detail of. Last year was okay. Last year was a bit of a year, but I had a blast. Um, I got to travel, which I really want to be doing, and that's where I think I'm going to be heading next. Is I'm going to be pursuing next is a lot of traveling. Um, you know, yeah. So this is just my little ramble tonight. Just seeing if any of you guys can relate to me if you're ever around family. I feel like in my family, I'm always the black sheep. I'm always the one to sort of want to dig deep and talk about like real stuff, like nothing, none of the fluff that's out there, like really try and dig into deep conversations. But, you know, I can't do that. Like, it's just hard for me. Like, I was just sitting there today, listening to people and, I would have conversations, but they would just be like, very shallow and surface level for me anyway. And I'm like, man, like I got so much to share with people, but I don't think it like they don't really want to hear it. Like, I brought up some stuff before, but people, they don't really want to hear it. So, it is what it is, guys. Um, I hope this wasn't depressing. I just decided to share that today. I'm gonna be heading to bed, pretty tired. I actually came back, like I went to the family function and then I had to work, so I'm back home and I'm tired. So hope you guys have a good night, and let me know if you guys relate to this. I know this wasn't my happy, jolly, positive video, but I feel like some things need to be said, and this is what this channel is about. Again, there's a lot of stuff that I want to share with you guys in terms of what I learned that's beneficial, but unfortunately, um, I can't. I just don't want this channel to be taken down. So, um, if you're intelligent enough, you might be reading me here. This is nothing nefarious or whatever. It's just stuff that, I just can't mention on here because I've mentioned it before. Um, and this is all to try and help people, but it's just been taken down. So, anyway, hope you guys have a good night, and I'll talk to you in the next video. Peace.